Hey folks, welcome back to your favorite automotive channel on YouTube. It's Car Show and Tell. Thanks for joining us. If you're new to the channel, I just want to say why. There's so many better things you could be watching now. But you're here, so anyway, you know, we'll make the best of it. Bear with me. So, if you are new to the channel and you haven't subscribed yet, or if you're old to the channel and you haven't subscribed yet, yeah, just kind of maybe, could you? I don't know. It'd be nice. We just hit the 100 subscriber mark, so that's a good thing. And I'm here to put Mr. Beast on notice. I'm coming for you. I'm sure we'll get caught up here in no time, as long as I just beg for a few more subscribers. Anyway, in honor of reaching the triple-digit subscriber mark, we brought a Mustang! Yay! Because everybody likes them. I mean, almost everybody. I mean, you know. But anyway, well, we're non-denominational. We're a non-denominational church here at the No-Kill Car Shelter. So, you know, we'll let anything in, really. But I mean, if we're going to go with a Mustang, this is my buddy Nate, so I want to thank him for bringing it over. And honest to God, this is probably one of the cleanest ones you're ever going to see. But, you know, Nate's always been pretty well known for keeping his cars clean, so I'm not surprised. I mean, there isn't even dirt on the disc brake rotors. It's that clean. So, I think he gets in there with like a Q-tip and pipe cleaners and like cleans the vents in the brake rotors because he has no life. I'm kidding. He's standing behind the camera watching me. But anyway, so here it is. He's brought some parts along that we can put on. You can't see it because it's still in the shipping packaging, but we've got some new springs, some lowering springs. He's gone with the 1.5" Steeda package. So we're going to get to those. And he did his homework. He's done it the right way. He's got all new isolators, ISO insulators, whatever you want to call them. Isolators, insulators, insolence, ignorance. But anyway, all new isolators for the springs, top and bottom, front and rear, head, shoulders, knees and toes, the whole thing. So, okay. I've done this before on one of these cars, but it was a long time ago and it was on my car, so I've probably forgotten half the steps. But we're going to do this, and I'm going to walk you through it step by step. Hold your hand every step of the way. So if you want to grab a pen and paper and follow along, write everything down. We'll try not to screw anything up. And without any further ado, let's get started. So, first step. Since the car is so clean, so fresh and so clean. I already got some gloves out here. I'm going to put some gloves on. Not because I think the car is going to get me dirty, but more than likely, because I'm going to get the car dirty. So, you know, we're going to put some gloves on. It's the nice thing to do. Prudent thing. And we're going to start on this side. I'm going to do this front spring. And there we go. So, let me get my shorts arranged here. I've got a lock key for the, there we go, the locking lug nut. We're going to take that off, and the rest of the lug nuts. Being careful not to booger any of the wheel. Up with my socket or the impact wrench. And perfect. Stop. Okay, so I had to jack the car up a little bit more and get that tire off. But it's off. And just to illustrate how clean this thing is, I mean, look at this. It's barely got any dirt on the inside of the wheel. Come on. Who does this? Somebody's not right. It's an illness. And it's an illness, Nate. Seek mental help. Anywho, I mean, come here. Come here. Come here. Come here. Look at this. Look at that. Look at that. There's no dirt. There isn't any dirt. How am I supposed to work on this without becoming filthy? While we're here, we're going to take this brake caliper off because we don't want to stretch our brake hose, right? We don't want to overstretch that. And we're also going to remove, this is our ABS sensor harness. This just clips in here, right? We don't want to overstretch that either. So we're just going to remove it from the clip here on the frame rail, just so it has a little bit more slack. And there's a couple of 12mm bolts. That's the wrong way, isn't it? Wait, hold on. That should be out. Nope, that's tight. Lefty toosey, righty lady, or something. I need a hammer. I still haven't figured it out. There we go. That's loose. A couple of 12mm bolts holding the caliper into the slide pins. Look about like that. Okay. We're going to take those out. Set those off to the side so that we don't lose them. That one came out a lot easier. And I noticed that there's no anti-seize on these. So when we put those back, we're going to put some anti-seize on. And we should be able to just slide this sucker right off here. There we go. Now, tuck this up behind our strut like so. And we don't need to really move these. If they fall out, they fall out. We'll put them back. Oh, I'm going to take this off. I'm going to take this off. Okay, probably maybe just the bottom. Just the bottom. We'll take the bottom off. And for that, we need a 15mm socket on our impact gun. And we should be able to just spin this nut directly off here. Like a so. Okay. Can you tell I've had coffee today? No, Tim, we couldn't tell at all. You seem perfectly not hyper whatsoever. And that should be the brunt of the lower disassembly that we need to get accomplished. We do have, I just want to say here, we do have this thing supported directly underneath the rear subframe mount with a jack stand and a small piece of wood so we don't damage any of the metal bits, right? That little piece of wood will conform to the shape of the metal, whereas the jack stand will, you know, bend stuff. I don't want to do that. Okay, so we're going to pause here, and what we're going to do is get the jack moved up underneath this control arm, right underneath our spring pocket, just enough to support the bottom of the A-arm. We're not going to jack it up or jack it down or whatever. We're just going to keep this level, and then we'll move on to the next step.
Oh.
Okay, now come up here and have a look at this. At the top of our strut, we have a reference mark here. We got a little bit of blue on the nut, a little bit of blue on the stud. This is a stud that comes out of our strut, comes up through the mount and all that. We're going to take this nut off here. When we put it back on here, we want to make sure we get this lined up, okay, in the same area, or, you know, at least as tight as it was when it came off. If we go a little past here, don't worry about it. It's even tighter than what it was before, that's fine. If it don't loosen up the entire way, it just means we're spinning this center shaft. So we're going to have to get a couple more tools I'll grab here in a second. a large flat blade screwdriver, and a 21mm combo wrench. And without scratching the paint, we're going to hold the top of our strut with our flat blade. We're going to proceed to torque off this nut. We'll take our cap off, set those off to the side so we don't lose them. Put our tools with it, and there we have it. Now we can go back down to the bottom of the car, and we can begin to lower our, we can knock over our drill, or our impact gun. And we can lower the jack with our control arm. Okay, it's coming down. I probably picked the wrong side to film here with all the lighting is weird. And the top of our strut's going to come down with it. That's fine. I got a handle on it. Right? We're watching the length of our ABS sensor. Okay, is that down the whole way?
Yes, sir.
Alright. So we're going to have to kick the jack out from underneath then to get it to come down even further. So now we've got this down as far as we can get it. We should be able to just, boy, nope. What I'm gonna have to do is get a crowbar, pry bar, and pry that sucker out of there. Maybe just push down a little bit. Okay, we got another set of hands here. So if you can keep this in, I'm going to push down and see if I can drag this spring out. That won't work. So let me get past you. I'll get a crowbar, pry bar, and that should come out that way, hopefully. Are. One spring out. Very nice. Okay. Yeah. All right. What we're going to do real quick is, see in here. Okay, there's our spring pocket. See all that dirt and gravel in there? We're just going to pause this for a moment and I'll clean that out of there before we go slamming a new spring in. Okay, so we'll be right back. All right, so here we are. From a new spring, that would be the top side. That would be our bottom side. We have our new isolators, or ISO insulators, right? This is one for the top. This is the donkey dick that goes on the spring bottom. And we have some wax. This is what I like to use for this. Just take a nice big bit of wax, and we're going to smear it in here where our spring goes. This is going to help the isolator stick to the top of our spring, and it actually works as a bit of a corrosion resistant coating, right? So whatever moisture sneaks up between these two, it will hopefully, you know, kind of be shed off by the wax coating. Hey, you're supposed to stay stuck to that now. You're not listening. Maybe I need more wax. So, of course, the only time this wouldn't work was when the camera's on. Let's do this. A little bit more in there. There we go. And the same for this. This stuff, usually these insulators aren't isolators aren't difficult to get on these springs, but give them a little bit of juice to move with. Just makes things work a little bit more smoothly. Or to stop. Yay. What did that do? Is the camera still rolling? Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. I heard a ding. Is that your phone?
Yeah.
There we go. We got her all schmutzed up. Okay. You prick. Wipe our excess off. And set you in there. Okay. Now I got wax all over my shirt, and my pants, and my fingers, and my hands. Turn myself into a wax statue. All right. A lot of people say you can just tape those on too. If you just want to tape the spring insulators onto the top, wrap it with a couple of wraps of electrical tape. Okay, so we slide our new spring in like so, with the end of the spring aligned with the depression in the bottom of our spring pocket. We tuck the top in first, right, like so, and then set that in like so. And now all we need to do is start jacking this arm back up into place. So I'll have my associate here start working the jack. Okay, and as we're doing this, a couple things we got to watch out for. We're going to watch at the top of our strut goes back into the top strut mount, and that our sway bar end link goes back into the hole in the control arm. Okay, so we're going to stop right there, pause here for a second. So our spring's aligned in the bottom of our spring pocket, and we're just going up far enough that the top of our front strut is just coming to the top of the front strut mount. So that's lined up. The next thing we got to worry about is just moving this sway bar end link into alignment with the hole in the front control arm. Okay, and if you're having trouble doing that, you can loosen this top nut, and that'll give you a little bit more freedom of movement as he's jacking this thing up to get that to come, you know, into the mount hole. All right, I'll set you off to the side here. Whoa, knock you over. There we go. Up with the jack. Oh yeah. Very good, keep going. Okay, that should be good right there. Okay, so our sway bar end link has made its way down through the hole in the control arm. I'm going to put the bottom bushing and the nut back on. I don't need to tighten it yet, mainly because the jack is pretty much in the way. But just to have those threads, you know, turn it on 5, 6, 7 turns, get those threads started, get that nut, you know, worked on enough that it isn't going to come back off on its own again and go flying somewhere that you're not going to be able to find it. This is up the whole way. While I'm looking at this, I want to tuck my wiring harness in for my ABS sensor, since I'm here and it's on my mind. That's there where it belongs again. The next thing I'm going to do is go up top here and I'm going to retighten this strut nut. So our strut's back through our mount. I'm going to put a cap on. And our blue mark is now moved around. So I'm going to turn it front. I'll turn this front so you guys can see it. There's our blue mark on our strut nut. And we want to make sure we go about 2.5 threads down, tightened past that. Well, it's not going to work so far. At this point it's too loose. So sometimes the impact gun will turn these, sometimes they won't. You gotta do it by hand, which is always fun. Not. Might need a longer screwdriver, a wider, more substantial screwdriver. Oh, yeah, I'm not going to be able to stop that from turning anymore. So, I have a solution for that. I'm going to go grab some tools. Alright, here's what I have. Okay, this is just a flathead bit that goes on the end of a 1/2-inch drive ratchet and 21mm open end wrench. Okay, one person holds this nut still, and the next person will get on here and tighten this down like so. Okay, if the impact gun won't tighten it up, you just got to resort to hand tools and get the job done. Okay, so we're going to set this camera down for a second. We're going to use this method and we're going to tighten this down and we'll pick back up. Okay, so let's get turned around here to that, and we see where our witness marks are all lined up again, and we're 1, 2, just about 3 threads down, just the same way the nut was before we took it off. So 3 threads down, and we got our blue marks, our witness marks lined back up, so we know we're at the same place we needed to be before. So at this point, we're going to put our brake caliper back on. I'm going to grab my Loctite real quick. Wait, there we go. And I should be able to just slide this over here. Get out from behind our strut. Thank you very much. There's one. Make me a liar. Make me a liar. Came off. Now you don't want to go back on. Used to be my homie. Now you act like you don't know me. What the? Alright. There you are. Alright. We're on. We gotta put our bolts back in. These are the 2 brake caliper bolts, and I noticed I haven't had any Loctite on. Some of you might disagree. I know the factory bolts had some Loctite on. I get the feeling that these aren't the factory bolts. So, get that lined up, get it started. And our second bolt started at the bottom. Okay, and these caliper sliders on the GTs, never quite really liked them. They have a very, very small flat on either side for a 16mm wrench, and then you use your 12 to tighten it down. Am I going the right way? Yeah. I still get confused, folks. I don't know if I'm coming or going, but we're coming right this time, I think. Get your head out of gutter. That bolt's going right where it needs to be. All right, crank that down, all well and good. We'll do the same thing to our caliper bolt at the bottom. Because I do not want these brakes coming apart. Not after I touched it anyway. Great, caliper's back in place. Okay, one thing of note, whoever gets back in the car after this will have pushed the brake caliper pistons back just a little bit. Give the brakes a quick pump before you go anywhere, all right? So our hoses are good, our wiring's good, bolts back in up there. Last thing we gotta do is tighten up the nut on the bottom of our sway bar end link. Hopefully this one will turn with this. Oh, yeah, I forgot. We gotta get our jack out first. So, there you go. Have my associate lower the jack. It is at the moment currently in the way. All right, go ahead, roll her out. Very good. You're gonna take that again. We're just gonna reach under here. Feel for our nut. Make sure our gun is sitting tight and not loosen. Adjustable. Let me get an adjustable. I want to double check this with by putting an adjustable on the flats that are on my sway bar end link right there. And just take my roller. My ratchet. There we go. That's tight. It's not going anywhere. Last thing we got to do, put our wheel back on. Place. Make our 4. I'm out of breath. Make our 4 lug nuts. if you're out there at home doing this, you don't have to work as hard as I do or as fast as I do. And when I'm using this to put lug nuts back on, I always start them slowly and as straightly as I can, because if they cross thread, you're going to be in a world of trouble. Okay? You'll know it if they do. That one started to. Just a couple of times it started cross thread. I straightened it out where I want. The other alternative is do this. Start the first few threads by hand, then use your gun and lock them on there. Actually, I need that on there. The last thing I need to do is jack the car back up and put this wheel back on the ground so I can torque these lug nuts to between 85 to 105 pound feet, which is, I believe, the factory spec. So we'll pause the video for a moment. I'm going to get some water. We're going to jack this thing up, get the jack stand out from underneath. We'll put it down on the ground. We'll torque this up, and then we're going to take a small chronic break, and we're going to be moving on to the back end. So we'll see you in a few. All right, we're back. While we were away, we went ahead and did the front spring on the other side. So the front of the car is done. So you're actually rejoining us for the third half of our program. We got this car turned around because we don't want to be working out in the sun. And we got the back end jacked up off the ground. And we've removed both rear tires. And we're going to go ahead and do the rear springs now. And like the front end, there were a few things that we had to get out of the way. Things that we didn't want to mess up. So I'm going to drink a little bit more of my water. And then we're going to get started. Okay. Need a wrench. Ready? There we go. Sorry. Okay. So, like the front end, our brakes gotta come off. So we're gonna bang on that for a little bit. And we're gonna take our bolts out of our brake calipers, our slide pins per se. Oh, wait, I'm forgetting something first. First, let me back up. Okay. So, these are cable actuated e-brakes built into our rear calipers. So the first thing we actually need to do is to take this brake cable away from our clip here, and usually you can just take a pair of vice grips, clamp the, whatever you want to call it, the ferrule on the back end of it, and there's enough slack that you can just pull it backwards and take it right out of that bracket, like so. And then there is a circlip. If you want to shoot in here, go ahead and stick it up right in the wheel well, right up its ass. Go on. Okay, you see the circlip? It's not going to focus. There you go. Get out of there. There's a circlip around the thingy with the thing. There you go. You can see right there the circlip that's holding that cable on. We're going to take a scuba diver and pop that sucker off. If I can work by camera viewfinder. I hate doing this. And nope, I suck. There we go. Let's pick that up off the ground. Put it with our lug nuts so we don't lose it. And then I can just yank that cable out from the front side. Okay. If it'll come. Where am I? There you go. So that's out. Alright, there you have her. So we already got one bolt out of here. We've got our cable off for our e-brake. I just gotta take this other bolt out of here and come on. There we go, set those off the side. Wiggle our brake caliper out of here, and then usually you can find a way to wiggle it out from between here somehow. Okay, that's out of the way, so we're not going to damage our hose. We're going to come over here to the lower control arm. Here's a connector. Not a connector, but a holder for our ABS sensor for the rear. I am not going to take these sensors out, but if we start lowering this axle and these get tight, I got a pretty good amount of slack here. But if this gets too tight, I'm going to stop before I would pull this and do any damage to it and remove the sensor. But I think we can get away without having to actually take these sensors out. So any of y'all that know me know I don't like to take it, you know, I take as little apart as I have to. So what we're going to do now is we're going to get on both sides here and we're going to run our lower shock bolts out, and then we're going to start dropping our axle shaft, and we'll get these two springs put in. Okay, so question came up. I just want to do one side, drop one side, and then drop the other side. Or, you know, drop one side, do the spring, put it back together, and then drop the other side, do the spring, put it back together. You can do that. It's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. I just don't like to do it that way. Why? I don't know. Maybe I'm just stubborn. But it's 4-link, triangulated rear end, no panhard rod or anything. Even if it did have a 3-link and a panhard rod, it's just shocks. You're only taking shocks off. You're not taking any control arms off. There's no real danger of misaligning anything. So we're going to get a 15 mil. That's the head on our lower shock bolt, 15 mil. And I got my impact gun here. Long extension in an 18 mil socket because you can't get straight back there with the gun. And set this to the offensive position. And our nut comes right off. And we're going to take a drift. And my adjustable hammer, I'm sorry, this isn't an adjustable hammer, this is a ratcheting hammer. Right? And then we'll use our drift and our ratcheting hammer to pound that bolt out of the lower shock mount. And then we'll get our bolt and collect our nut, if you could please. And I'm just going to put these together. Put them off to the side with the lug nuts and the other hardware so we don't lose that. Okay. Now, I'm going to have my assistant please keep an eye on the ABS sensor line on that side. Well, I keep an eye on the ABS sensor for this side. And I'm going to begin to bring my axle down. Nice and easy. Slowly. And if anybody hollers, I'll stop. Is it still dropping? Well, the jack's dropping, but the rear end ain't. So Spring's still tight. We may have reached the end of this travel for our quad shocks. Yep. Yep. Instead of prying them off there. Is that thing still running?
Yep.
Okay. So I think what we did is we reached the end of our travel limit of our quad shocks. If you don't know what the quad shocks are, it's this link here. And now, back when I had one of these, I think one of the first things I did was have these quad shocks off. So, it might not have been a concern of mine. So here's what's going to happen. Right now, the jack's under the rear end. So I think I'm just going to take this bolt out. Makes me wish I had one of these that ratcheted, because that would be much faster. I think what we'll do, you guys get the idea, just taking these two bolts out of here, and then I'm going to take this quad shock out of this mount, right? So, we'll pause the video, and we'll pick back up once these quad shocks are out of their mounts, okay? Alright, let's see who's correct. That's it. That's the extension of our quad shocks. So, I go back in. That's as far as I go back out. Okay, so let's see how far down we go this time. You got an eye on that wire?
Yep. Go slow.
Maybe I'm going the wrong way. There we go. It stopped immediately.
It'll go.
Okay.
You just have to leave it loose, and we'll have to pry it down a little.
Is that as far down as it wants to?
Yep.
Yeah.
That's it.
Okay, the rear wiring's okay.
And the shock's
We'll
off.
have to take our sensors out.
Yep.
So, now I'm looking in here. I don't think it'll be very hard to just take a pry bar and pry this spring out right above our axle tube here. If I can get the pry bar here. There's got to be a way. Move it out of here. There you go. There you have it. One spring out. Okay. I'll go to the other side and try that one out. Alright. Here's our new lower spring insole isolator. Right? That's the one for the top. Slam that in there. And I think we can just line this up where it goes down there. And maybe we do the bottom. Maybe we do the top first. Maybe we do the top first. Maybe. I don't remember my old car being this much trouble. I did use different springs though. They might have been shorter overall. Okay. There must be a way to get this done. Okay, we found the easiest way to do this. Actually working with two people. First person tucks the top of the spring up here in the top of the pocket where it belongs. Second person takes and puts some weight down on here while the first person just slides the bottom of the spring into place on its isolator. It slides right in, and then when the rear end's jacked back up, it should go right into where it's supposed to go. So that's what I'm going to start doing now. I'll start jacking the back end up. Keep an eye on it. Lower shocks now. Lower shocks lined up.
Yep. Yeah, check that other side.
Other side's looking fine. I just want to say that the springs are wound in the same direction, and we clocked both springs identically from the back end. The same way that they were, the same way that the stock springs were installed is the same direction that we installed the new springs. The pigtail of the bottom spring points towards the left or the driver's side of the car on both sides. Okay? Okay, so like now we're gonna put our lower shock bolts back in. Oh my god. I came up a little too far. Let me go down a little bit. Ah, too far. That looks. Yeah, there we go. Now we're lined up. Yeah. We're not back on. Let me find my, where did the wrench go? Oh, hang on, I know it's here somewhere. Ah. Okay, 15mm wrench on the bolt head, 18mm socket on the nut. There's our lower shock bolt. You know what I'm going to do? Since that's out of the way, I don't have to battle it to get my brake caliper back through here. So remember that, folks. When you're doing your disassembly, just take those off. And it'll make it easier to get this brake caliper. Come on, Paul. There we are. Okay. Get my caliper bolts. Ah, yeah. Come on. There it is. Line my caliper bolt up. Now, on these sliders on this side, they have flats that you align with flats cast into the brake caliper. You don't have to hold this one with a wrench.
You need your lock or
so
no?
Make sure that your slides are slid into the caliper casting where they belong, and then get your 12mm wrench and you can tighten them down. Wherever that's at right here.
Need any your lock or no?
Huh?
You need any lock?
You want to put Loctite on? Yeah. Put a little Loctite on. Let me find it. Oh. It's just the rear brakes.
True.
They're only half as important as the front brakes. we'll put a drop or two of Loctite on there. Why not? It's a little added precaution. We'll just drop the rest right on the brake caliper there, that's fine. Okay. Here's that. Yeah. Come on. There we go. Hey. All right. That's right. Take it. Okay. Get a little rag here. I'll wipe this off. Okay. Now that that's been accomplished, I'll put this back where it belongs. Come on, come with me. Stretch it out. Start working our bolt in. 15 millimeter. Oh, that'll do her. Right. I don't have a clicky wrench for this one. Could use a ratchet if I really wanted to. But it's tight quarters. Right. Oh. She's tight. We're going to tuck our ABS sensor harness back in our little clip here. Get that back where it belongs. Nice. Now, we're going to pull our brake cable and stick it back to our caliper where it mounts. And we can get our vice grips. And we're just going to pull this little ferrule back a little bit. And we'll tuck him right back into the bracket where it belongs. And then we have our C fastener, C clip, Sir clip, C clip, E clip, BD, E and F clip. And we can push that back onto our, come on you prick. There you go. Push that back over the end of our e-brake cable to retain it in our caliper. That side's back together. And then take a short break for a little bit of water. And then put the other side together. And then you guys will join us for the fourth and last half of our program, where maybe we'll drive it around a little bit, give everybody a little driving impression of these new Steeda 1.25" sport lowering spring things. We'll be back. Okay. So, where did we leave off? We put the rear wheels back on, we tightened the lug nuts, and we put it down. That's the process in a nutshell. To those Fox bodying us in 95 cars. And if I didn't say it earlier, I don't think I did, that basically sums up lowering springs in every Mustang from 1979 to 2004. Okay? The earlier cars are going to be a bit different than the later cars, right? You're going to have drum brakes in the rear until 94, I believe. They're hardline drum brakes. I think 94 was the first disc brake year. So you're not going to have to contend with removing rear calipers. They're there. You drop the axle with the drums on it, no problem. They still have the quad shocks though, I'm fairly certain. The earlier cars aren't going to have the ABS to contend with. I can't remember what year was the first ABS year. So don't quote me on that. 98 maybe? 99? I don't know. What else? Front's going to be pretty much relatively the same. And this also applies to any other Fox-bodied car. Like the early, what was it, the mid-80s Fox chassis Thunderbirds, Fairlane, Zephyrs, all of those other 80s Fox chassis cars. I think Granadas at one point were even on the Fox chassis. So it should work for a bunch of different stuff. Follow that procedure. I think that's the only thing I really wanted to talk about. So one other thing, another item of note is there's something called the no-name drags that I've been wanting to try out. If you don't know anything about the no-name drags, you can look up, there's videos of that on YouTube, but it's for YouTube content video makers, automotive type. I don't know any of them. You might. But I think the minimum number of subscribers, which doesn't make any sense to me. They call it the no-name drags, but they want you to have a minimum of 500 subscribers. I don't know. I guess if you're under 500, you're a little too no-name, maybe? I don't know. Maybe they just don't want everybody and their cousin showing up trying to partake. Could be. But I'm thinking if I can get to that magic 500 number, maybe we'll do something. If you can make a half-assed attempt to get me to 500 subscribers, I'll make a half-assed attempt to get to the no-name drags. How's that sound? Pinky promise. Alright, so that's all the yakking I wanted to do. Let's get back out to the car. Alright. Yeah. So, that's its initial lowering. How it looks after that work. Maybe I should have taken a before and after shot to compare that to, hey there. Anyway, see what it looks like coming up the road, and like I said, he really doesn't want to be in the video, so I gotta respect that. So I'll get a shot of it coming up the street here. He's gonna pick me up. I'm gonna turn the camera off. We're gonna go for a little ride, and then leave you with my impressions after that. Yeah, man. It looks like it sits a little bit lower. Alright, let me turn this off. I got it. Okay, so we took a measurement from the rocker panel to the ground before we started. We got a measurement of 7 3/4 of an inch. Or no, what? 7 1/4. 7 1/4 of an inch. So we'll take another measurement here. We got, looks like just below 6 1/4. So I think we've probably come down just over an inch, maybe 1 1/8 inches. and this was an advertised 1.25 inch drop. Keep in mind that we used brand new spring isolators on this as well, and it's going to take everything a little bit of time to settle in. Alright, so we saw how much lower that car went. I'm going to talk about driving impressions. When I was younger, I was in my 20s when I had one of those cars. And I too put springs in mine, and I think the ones that I picked were the H&R series springs. I don't know if they had two different ones or not, but I believe the spec was like a 1.8 inch drop, because at that time I was in my 20s, early 20s, and I just wanted to go fast and go around corners quickly. And so that's what I went with. In comparison, the H&R springs rode like a brick, or a buckboard, as some people say. They're quite harsh, and not the kind of spring that I would probably put in a car if I had it all to do over again. As much as I liked the look of the car with those springs, it was pretty low. At this age, I think I prefer something a little more comfortable. So I wouldn't recommend those at this point. I think he really did good. Ooh, I think he really did good with the Steeda springs that he went with. So just over an inch of drop, really. And riding around, we did 12 or 15 miles riding around easy, and not harsh at all. No nosedive, really. Well, I won't say no nosedive, but very reduced amount of nosedive. Okay, so before, if he would lean on the brakes really hard, that thing would nosedive pretty severely. Now it still gets an, you know, front nose down attitude, but it's not nearly as severe. Or when you're accelerating away from a stoplight, you know, spiritedly, let me put it that way, it doesn't feel like you're staring at the sky anymore, or like it's standing up on its back bumper anymore. And your nose comes up and it goes away from the light, and that's it. It's not over dramatic. It handles nice. I wouldn't call the ride harsh by any stretch of the imagination. So I'll put a link to the part number for the spring set down in the description. If that's a set that you guys want to consider, I'd actually strongly recommend putting them in. You know, especially if you're riding around with your girlfriend in a car. I'm sure she doesn't want to have her kidneys rattled out. So there's always that to consider too. So, all right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I believe that concludes our program for the evening. I am hungry, I'm tired, and I want to go eat. So I'm Tim Toolman. Thanks again for joining us here at Car Show and Tell. And if you got any thoughts, complaints, criticisms, and you think that I could be doing anything better, leave a note in the comments. If you'd like to, like and subscribe, or ring the bell, or whatever it is you want to do. Okay. Like I said earlier, we can try to get our numbers up to 500. We'll do the no-name drags. I'm looking forward to it. We'll see what you guys think. Okay? All right, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you learned something. What to do or what not to do. Till next time. See you.